I've just arrived in China. Except this isn't really China. Because if I want to take a train here in Hong Kong to mainland China, it's not that easy.
If I want to go past that turnstile, I'm gonna have to get a visa.
See, you can walk right into Hong Kong with a US passport, but you'll need to apply for a visa to enter mainland China. And if I want to buy something, Hong Kong uses Hong Kong dollar. Mainland China uses the Chinese yuan.
And here in Hong Kong, I can use apps like YouTube and Facebook, but not so much in mainland China.
Where those apps are banned, Hong Kong locals have extra freedoms, open internet, free speech. It's been a source of pride for the 7 million people of Hong Kong. But now, all of that is changing.
Economy is not doing that well here. Unemployment is high.
Over the past few years, there are a lot of things that happened in Hong Kong. We had the COVID and also a lot of changes in terms of the political policies.
There are people that are moving out.
More than 100,000 people have already left Hong Kong. Its population has declined for 3 years in a row.
There are a lot of people, so many of my friends, they left Hong Kong.
A lot of people had left. We have friends that have left for Singapore.
My friends, they immigrate to the UK, to Canada, to New Zealand, to Australia, to the States.
Hong Kong is called a global financial hub, but all of that is being threatened.
That presents a very negative vibe for us, just walking through the neighborhoods and seeing a lot of small business owners close down.
I think Hong Kong has changed in almost all aspects: population, politics, civil society.
Many expats left Hong Kong because the COVID policies were some of the strictest in the world, and locals left because they didn't like the way their freedoms were slipping away. But to understand this story, you should know this. Hong Kong is destined to be fully part of China one day, but the debate is when exactly? See, Hong Kong was under British rule until 1997. Then, during a big ceremony, Hong Kong was handed back to China's rule. But the agreement was that it would remain its own semi-autonomous region for 50 years. The arrangement was called One Country, Two Systems. But Beijing doesn't want to wait until 2047. It wants Hong Kong to be fully integrated and part of China. So the Hong Kong dollar could one day be eliminated. And remember that immigration security at the train station? That too could be gone.
Yeah, it's like in the US, you have people support Trump, you have people that do not support Trump. So it's the same here, but maybe like in the Western media will only tell the story about like one side of the story.
This story is personal. See, I moved to Hong Kong in 2018. It was the most fun city I had ever been to. It was a vibrant city where you would wake up early and stay up late. Hong Kong's ambitious energy was even stronger than New York's. But the next year, in 2019, Hong Kong broke out into chaos. Protests broke out over a controversial bill which would send some criminal suspects to mainland China, which has a much less open judicial system than in Hong Kong. The protests were so crazy that on one single day, an estimated 1 million people came out to protest. One night in late 2019, I walked by this Starbucks and saw windows were smashed. Protesters believed that the people who operated Starbucks Hong Kong were pro-Beijing supporters.
This is that same Starbucks, and I remember very, very vividly that night, these doors were smashed in. I mean, you could literally walk into the Starbucks and like grab a cup of coffee because nobody had boarded it up. Nobody had even shown up that same day to board it up. This Starbucks in Hong Kong is completely shattered. As you can see, the glass has completely been shattered, and there's spray paint that says, "Don't you feel guilty sipping the coffee."
After months of protests and violence, Hong Kong dropped its proposal of sending criminals to mainland China, but it was too late. People were upset. I was in Hong Kong when it got its first COVID case, which meant the protests would calm down. And in summer of 2020, Beijing took its most aggressive action yet against the protesters with the National Security Law, which basically banned protesting completely and said no more talking bad about China.
And that law was passed June 30th, 2020. I was still living here at the time, and it was very controversial, as you can imagine. It was almost like the protests virtually overnight disappeared. A lot of countries actually spoke out against that law, including the UK and Japan, saying that it totally breached the rule that Hong Kong would have its autonomy for 50 years.
Critics say the national security law was the nail in the coffin that would change Hong Kong forever. And soon after that, more than 100,000 people would move out of Hong Kong for good. Many headed for Australia or the UK.
They wanted to move permanently away from Hong Kong and set up a new life. Some of my friends, they left also because they have a different political stance versus what the government, the Hong Kong government or the Chinese government is planning for Hong Kong.
Slowly you can see how mainland China is, influencing the Hong Kong and then putting the pressure and also the politics stuff.
I had always known Hong Kong for its freedom of speech, but since I left in 2020, things have changed. Coming here now though, I need to be careful what I say or post. To help understand the changes, I visit this bookstore.
The last time I was at this bookstore, the last time I was here, there was a big wall of pro-democracy protests, paintings, and signs of support of the protests, but now all of that has been wiped out. Things have changed, the mood has changed.
I ask if I can interview the same curator of the store.
And how about books and stuff? Have there been any books that you've had to not sell anymore?
I think we want to emphasize that we follow the law. Because the law has changed, so we have to follow. So we don't do anything that violate the law. Yeah, but we still want to. We don't want to put the red line by ourselves.
As he told me, a lot of scholars have left, a lot of artists have left.
It isn't just bookstores, but schools too. The curriculum for students here is changing. See, now there's an increasing emphasis on mainland China's values and education system, and even language. See, most of China speaks Mandarin, while the official language of Hong Kong is Cantonese.
Chinese was taught in Cantonese, so the language here in Hong Kong, the regional language. But I think increasingly from the past few years, it has been replaced, so you can choose to learn from Cantonese or Mandarin depending on the schools. But before at my generation, like Mandarin class is only like for 1 hour per week, so it's a little different.
Over the past 25 years, Hong Kong has gone from contributing about 20% of China's overall economy to just about 2% today. See, traditionally a big company from, let's say, the US or Europe might set up headquarters in Hong Kong as an easy way to access mainland China and even the rest of Asia. But today, many of those companies can now go directly into Shanghai or Shenzhen. And to reach the rest of Asia, they might set up in Singapore or other cities that, unlike Hong Kong, don't have the world's most expensive real estate. So the significance of Hong Kong is just going down.
Economy is not doing that well here. Unemployment is high. People migrated to overseas. That happened. In the last few years.
I actually don't really see the pros. Maybe the only pro would be like we can go to China more easily. The borders are actually, they're still there, but like it's easier for even like expats or foreigners to go to China. But cons would be like China is still behind the Communist Party.
Honestly, I feel for the Hong Kong people because I think for them it's a lot of changes, a lot of new policies that implemented during the COVID period that can actually make the Hong Kong people worried about the future, right?
But Hong Kong is still one of the easiest places to do business, and it has low taxes.
What people get around the Hong Kong story is that Hong Kong still has its own freedom. It's very safe here. We operate with great tax benefits as entrepreneurs. But however, here, in terms of the focus, is not to be politically focused, but to be intensively a super capitalist. Make your money here, do your own thing. It becomes a great city of fully 100% commerce.
As Hong Kong's population goes down, so do the real estate prices.
This is usually not a very good sign when you have so many floors that are for lease. I mean, even this little ad space right here isn't getting sold.
On a Sunday, I arrived to a real estate event. Here, they're encouraging Hong Kong locals to invest their money in real estate projects abroad, essentially getting money into places like Thailand or London.
A lot of times the same day of the event, people are actually buying a unit. They even show you the floor plan, the different square footage, the amenities. So imagine you're in Hong Kong, you wake up on a Saturday or a Sunday, you come here, you actually buy property abroad, all from just this 1 hour event.
Kingston tells me the way people live and work here has been changing.
Definitely. Actually, we see a lot of people talking about working, outside of Hong Kong. We talk about digital nomad. Thailand is a really good place.
Well, Hong Kong has changed is because every day we used to be congested with traffic, and now there's just less people, right? Because of less tourism, less people at the convention, so less business people. So in terms of commuting, it's been glorious. But what's not really glorious is seeing what we call gut pull, which is the empty stores that are now shutting down.
So now that Hong Kong is integrating into mainland China, the government is spending billions of dollars to connect them, and not just metaphorically.
They try to integrate us with Shenzhen and the surrounding area to make it the Greater Bay Area.
The Greater Bay Area is the biggest effort yet, building this multi-billion-dollar bridge and this train station which connects Hong Kong with its neighbor Macau. And with this train station, it's now super fast to get to Shenzhen, the major tech hub of China, located just over the border with Hong Kong.
Economic-wise, I think it's still a very well-placed location. I think China is going to put a lot of emphasis on this region of China, so including Hong Kong as well. So I still believe Hong Kong, economic-wise, is going to go very well, obviously. And in terms of political stance, everyone has their own preference, right?
This train station was meant to bridge that gap and bring Hong Kong closer and easier into mainland China. It used to take about 2 hours to get to mainland China. Now with this train, you can get there in about 45 minutes. When the train first opened, I've taken it multiple times and it was actually really amazing. I mean, it was fast, it was convenient, it was smooth. And think about that, within 45 minutes, you're there, you're in mainland China. And at the time, it was quite controversial because for the first time, you would have mainland government officials here on Hong Kong soil, which some people were upset about, but it also signified changes.
In 1997, the agreement was put in writing. Hong Kong could eventually become a fully integrated part of China. And remember, the people that I'm meeting here in Hong Kong are the ones that are choosing to stay here.
Right now, all the restrictions have been lifted and things are getting back to normal, and I do see a lot more people came back to Hong Kong and then to actually build their businesses and start their life here. So I think it's going to get better.
I think it's going to be great opportunities. So that's why I'm sitting right here in the middle.
In Europe or in the US, the inflation rates have drastically increased. I'm coming from Poland. In Poland, the inflation increased by 20%.
Hong Kong's government, Hungry for Tourists, has committed to giving away 500,000 free flights for people to visit.
The salary in Hong Kong is actually pretty good. Usually people would think about moving to the UK or Europe. The jobs are probably not going to be so secure.
Hong Kong will still have its importance here because China still wants to showcase to the world that Hong Kong is still an international hub. For them to actually give up Hong Kong, I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm currently happy that I'm in Hong Kong, but I'm also looking for other opportunities elsewhere.